Good evening and welcome to our X39 stem cell activation patch review with testimonials. My name is Dr. John Harmon and I get to be your host tonight along with my good buddy Savy Vargas as we explore this wonderful new wearable health technology called the X39. I want to say right off, although I am a doctor, I am not making any diagnoses tonight. And this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So if you do have a disease, we recommend that you always consult with your doctor before starting any new kind of protocols or regimens. I mentioned in my opening about testimonials. So what are those and who are these people? Where do they come from? They come from sometimes all over the world, but at least in different parts of the country. Tonight, you're going to hear from two people called Susan. We're going to hear from the two Susans tonight. I want to tell you that when Savy and I were communicating back and forth on whose testimonial we had in writing and whose we didn't, it was a little bit confusing, Susan and Susan. But we're excited to have them on tonight. They are going to be sharing with us their experience with the X39. So we can't make claims about what your experience will be, but we are sharing testimonials of people who have had tremendous success with these patches, and we're really excited. So tonight, you're about to hear about the most brilliant biohack I've ever heard of in my 30-year career, and this is actually healing the body with frequencies. So Savy, I'm going to throw it over to you and for the testimonials.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Harmon, for that introduction. We do have two Susans tonight, Susan Allan, Susan Siegel, or Seigel. I'm not sure exactly how you say it, but I'm going to say Siegel. I think we'll start with Susan Allan. I will tell you, both of these testimonials are amazing, right? I mean, we have Zooms every day just about, right? And the testimonials just continue to mount up and mount up. And these two tonight are both very, very amazing. So Susan Allan, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So I've been asked to tell you just two of the amazing results in two different aspects of my health and my body. I could really give you a dozen. So since we're talking about the X39, let me start talking about brain function and brain speed that has been astounding from the first day I put on the patch last July. I got the patches July 1st. I put them on July 2nd, 1X39, and I began to think clearer, think faster. And the most amazing thing is that it was time for me to re-up my trademarks. I have 2 trademarks for my coaching business. Wow. And it was so complicated. The government website was so complicated. I just finally, at some point in about June, I put a pile of papers on the floor near my laptop, and I said, I'll get to this later, or I'll do something about it. I'll call an attorney. You know, I have a little time.
Right.
But the second day that I had the X39 on, I suddenly said, you know, Susan, enough is enough. You're going to sit down at the laptop. You are going to re-up your trademarks today. You're going to sit down and you're not standing up until you solve this.
Wow.
And it's complicated. You know, it's a very complicated website. So I got on the website and I'm going around and I said to myself, wait a second, I bet there's another way I can do this without spending $1,700 on an attorney. And I just sat there and I thought, and literally, I used the brain I was born with, not the brain that I had, right, that it had devolved into. And I was so focused, I was so determined, and suddenly I thought of the solution. 20 minutes later, I had solved the problem, and I stood up and I was done. And that was the first miracle I had, and that was on the second day I wore the X39.
Wow. So super focused with your mental. Excellent.
And because I'm not chronologically young anymore, what I can tell you is that I have now the brain I always used to have. I
Wow.
have the brain that I used to have. Actually, I think it's better because I always had attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and I
Sure.
am totally focused in a way that I would say I never have been. So that's a huge, huge miracle. But the second testimonial, do you want the second one right now, Savy?
Yeah, please, because
Okay.
I've read it. And it looks like you're pretty athletic and maybe got, was it rotator cuff or was it your scapula? You had an injury?
Scapula, excruciating. So I swim 66 laps each day, 6 days a week. And I'm laughing when you call me athletic because this is new. This is something I started 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And before that, I just used a strict limitation of food to have this be the size I wanted to be and have the body I wanted to be. But now I'm this, latter day athlete. It's very funny, except that I injured my shoulder blade and I was screaming in pain. And I love chiropractic care. I've been a devotee of chiropractors since 1982. I've had more than 1,000 adjustments. And my chiropractor, who's very talented, eliminated the spasms, eliminated the top edge of the pain, and couldn't make the problem go away.
Wow.
He couldn't. And I was just desperate because I have a zero pain tolerance. I refuse to live with pain. And I'm not giving up. I said, there's got to be a solution. I have all these patches. There's got to be a solution. So I came back from the chiropractor. I sat down with my cell phone and the Telegram app, and I just shuffled through it to look for people who had testimonials about eliminating pain, which is why I'm such, I'm here to give a testimonial because I know they can save people's lives.
Right.
And I found a testimonial about the Eon, that if you use 2 Eons rather than just 1 Eon, et cetera, et cetera. So I took out the Eon sleeve, I sat down, I put 1 Eon directly on my shoulder blade, and I did exactly what David Schmidt says. I waited about 5 minutes, and the pain did diminish.
Amazing.
And more importantly, I saw this relaxation because that's another part of the Eon.
Correct.
And I saw that my whole body started to just relax, even though the pain was still there. Now it was about maybe a 5 or a 6, not an 8 anymore.
Right.
And then I put
Still
on the second. Sorry?
Still unacceptable at a 5.
And so I took the second Eon and I used this KISS technique where you put the patches touching, not overlapping. And literally, as soon as I put the second Eon on, right next to the other one, the pain started to drift away.
Wow.
It started to just fade away. It was as if there was no more pain. And the amazing thing, everyone, the pain never came back. To have been in that level of pain, put on 2 Eon patches, it never came back. Now, I wore 2 of them the next day just to be sure, but zero pain. And I have since then, I've pushed my knee, I pushed my lower back, I pushed my foot, whatever, swimming. And every single time, I can tell you, as soon as I use this KISS technique, I have zero pain. And it is just a blessing.
We need to mute somebody. So Susan, when you did the kissing technique where you put the 2 patches together, were you still also using the X39 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
All right. So now it sounds to me also like the fact that you were focused that day and motivated that day. It also sounds on the business side, you're pretty motivated there too.
I am very, very excited. I love direct marketing. I was very successful in the 90s. We had 3,000 distributors in another company. And so I didn't find another product until this one that was so thrilling with such a wonderful company behind it. So I run another company and I am loving this. I'm on the phone with people every single day and I'm training my downline every single day.
That particular chiropractor of yours, did he join with you?
Yes. And it's interesting. It took him a while to decide. I have 4 chiropractors and 1 physical therapist in my downline now. And
Wow.
2 of the chiropractors are in England, which is really interesting.
Wow,
And
you're
also,
international.
yeah,
Ooh.
and yes, we are international. I've got 2 people in Mexico, 1 family in Canada, and then 4 people in Great Britain.
This is
That's
And-
amazing, Susan.
up here.
So to recap, you got rid of your injury pretty fast. You enrolled your chiropractor and others. You got your focus. And did you blow through that challenge that you had that day with your study?
Solved it in, 20 minutes.
Done. Okay. So that's an amazing testimonial. We appreciate you coming on and doing that.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Dr. Harmon will explain to us some of the science and how we get these things.
Yes, I will. And I love talking about it. So I get to share with you the brilliance of our founder, David Schmidt, in developing these patches. Savy and I got to interview him December 3rd, and I asked him a question: how did that happen? How did you even think of something like this? And it was kind of funny. I got a chuckle out of him. And Savy, if you could watch the admit, that would be great. So this little patch right here, it doesn't look like a lot. It looks like it's a little Band-Aid looking thing. This is the brilliant biohack. And this is what David Schmidt discovered or developed. He figured out a way to combine various materials, amino acids, salts, oxygen, whatever it is in there. It's a proprietary mix that's patented. And he figured out how to make them become their own type of crystal inside of this patch, inside of this sleeve, that become an amplifier reflector shield for photons, infrared, far infrared, near infrared, and other biophotons that we are emitting ourselves out around us in the surrounding atmosphere, and selectively reflect back some of those frequencies and amplify them. So I call it a mini hug. When we hug somebody, those things we're giving those photons off into somebody. But he figured out how to selectively get different frequencies, and the frequency that goes back into our body or when we put this patch on, as something, it acts like Morse code or a signal. It's like it turns on a light switch that restarts a little factory in our body that makes a peptide. This peptide, we have about 4,000 different types of peptides in our life. And this specific peptide, it's called the GHK copper peptide. I'm going to repeat that. GHK copper peptide. Now, don't think because it has copper in it that it's toxic. Copper is incorporated into this, and it acts like a switch, and it acts like a reparative mechanism for our genes. It's the substance our body uses to repair up to 4,200 of our genes. 4,200 of our genes. Just that in and of itself is astounding. So this is one of the reasons why people have these huge health shifts in just a few days. And it has to do with which genes get turned back on or upregulated. I wasn't one of those people who had an immediate effect. My big shifts came at about 2.5 months with gut health, and then about 4.5 months with heart health, and my hair started turning brown again. And people had to tell me that. I didn't realize it. It was mostly on the top of my head. But so mine came eventually, but not right away. So not everybody's going to have that shift right away, but here's what we want you to know. The other thing that peptide does, one of the things is that it turns back on our little stem cell factory. So that declines, by the time you get my age, it's, down like 90%. But it stimulates the production and the release of more stem cells. What are stem cells? For those of you who haven't been, hearing about all this buzz in your city, your state, that's all over the world, is that stem cells are the regenerative crew. They're the fix-it crew. They go around and fix things. Not only do they fix things, but they can also become a different cell. If your liver cell needs to be repaired or regenerated, it can become a liver cell or a bone cell or whatever cell it needs to do. So this is why people are spending $5,000, $10,000 on stem cell injections. But here's the problem. Most of the time, they are someone else's stem cells that were extracted from the umbilical cord of a recent birth. You can get them out of your bone marrow and in various ways, but historically, that's what they've been, is they've extracted them from someone else. These are not someone else's stem cells. This is an increase in your own stem cells all day long. So you put this patch on, you wear it for 24 hours, and then take it off at night and discard it, and then put another one on in the day. We have rapid wound healing. We have smoothing skin and decreasing wrinkle depth. The GHK copper peptide has anti-cancer properties. It's good for the brain. There was a brain study that was done where they had people use EEGs. That happens to be what I do in my practice. I do quantitative EEGs. And we look at brain regulation, and it's measured by how many cells in any lobe or any part of the brain are working at one time when you are at rest. The normals are well established over 50 years. So that's what they did. And then they saw where the brain is not working right. There's too much activity here and not enough here. That has to do with what's called coherence. You want to have more even activity, side to side, front to back. And that's what the patch did for people over 6 weeks. It gave them better coherence or better evenness throughout the brain, rather than too much or too little, because that's where we get symptoms. Too much of one type of brainwave on one side causes anxiety. Too much of another one on the other side causes depression. So it helps with those things. And this is why people get better mood. They say, I have better sleep. I have better mood. I have a better happiness factor. That's what my wife and I decided we were going to name it when we first started wearing the X39. It was the happiness factor went up. We're pretty upbeat people anyway, but it went up even more. So I invite you, knowing those few things about the X39, and this one last thing I'm going to tell you, it was about a cardiovascular study that was done. And I want to tell you quickly, for each day that you wear that patch, it reverses the age of your cardiovascular system. And it's by about a day and a third. Just that alone is worth the price of a cup of coffee a day. It's about what it costs to wear the patch. Not $5,000 or $10,000 like injections. It's about the price of a cup of coffee or a sandwich every day to regenerate and renew and heal the body with your own stem cells. That's what we do. There are different ways you can get these. One, you can go online, get with the person who invited you. You can order some. A one-time purchase is $149.95. That's retail. We have a great preferred customer program where you actually get it at wholesale, $99.95. And then every month they send you sample packs of some of the other patches that we have that you can experience. Excuse me. So it's a very generous preferred customer program. For those of you who think you might like to share, just like you would telling somebody about your favorite restaurant, we invite you to join with us. We have a goal of changing lives for the better. I call it helping people live out their life's fullest expression. Whatever that is, it's different for different people. People in a wheelchair have a different fullest, expression of their life. And we seek to do that with our families, with our friends and neighbors, with our city, with our state, and yes, the world. We're in, I think it's almost 100 countries now. So we're doing this all over the world. We're helping people with light. It's the light that's emitted by their body and reflected back into their body that heals their body. What a unique and beautiful concept of healing the body that way. Different ways you can come in for a $25 fee on up to $1,600. You can decide how you would like to become a representative with us. There are different packets. It depends on how much product that you get. A sleeve or month supply is this envelope. There are 30 patches in there. You can, with that $25 fee or different enrollment kits is what they call it. I was trying to think of the word. Enrollment kits, anywhere from purchasing one of these sleeves to 19 of them. They're called different packets are called bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. I like the gold packet because that gives you 5 sleeves. It's $499, and that gives you enough for yourself, for a partner, and it gives you enough to share. I used to say I like the silver pack. That's $299. You get 3 of those, but everybody I had get the silver pack ran out within a few days because everybody they talk to wants to use them. I started as a silver at the silver pack, and sure enough, I was out of patches, so I upgraded, which you can do at any time, to the diamond pack, and away we went. And then shared it with a few people, and they shared it with a few, and that's grown into beyond my wildest expectations. Let's say we started in the middle of a pandemic, and it's been very rewarding to help so many people. As a healthcare provider, if somebody comes in one day and they say, "You really helped me with this," it's like it's worth 2 weeks of endorphins for me as a healthcare provider. But I get people telling me that all the time with the patches, then I get to be on these Zoom calls with them. So we invite you to join with us, either as a customer or actually join with us in sharing these with other people. We have these Zoom calls at some point every day of the week where you can invite people that you've shared these with, and they can hear these testimonials, and they're all recorded. And we have an app where you can go on and actually search for different types of testimonials about different disorders, because we don't make medical claims. Well, we have recordings of people who have had success with different issues that they've had.